Mr. Tewari, thank you very much for your time. 2G versus 5G and this comparison. Why do you think this comparison is being made?
Well, Sanket, thank you very much for having me on your show.
My pleasure, sir.
The simple reason why I'm making this comparison is that in the November of 2010, when the then Comptroller and Auditor General, Mr. Vinod Rai, had come out with his presumptuous loss report that in the allocation of 2G spectrum, government had suffered a presumptive loss of 1,76,000 crores. We had called it absolutely a bogus report, because gain can be presumptive, loss can never be presumptive. And then when Mr. Vinod Rai and the other officers of the CAG had appeared before the Joint Parliamentary Committee, which was looking into the 2G spectrum and other telecom-related issues, it became very evident that they were not able to defend their report. In fact, the report had no legs to stand on. In fact, I had asked for permission from the Lok Sabha Secretariat, which was denied, to actually put in the public domain in the form of a book, the cross-examination of Mr. Vinod Rai that I had carried out in the Joint Parliamentary Committee. But unfortunately, that was denied. But nonetheless, that figure was so bombastic and the figure was so sensational that it completely rocked the UPA government off its haunches. And the UPA government was never able to recover from that death blow. Now, when this 5G auction took place, and 5G is a much, much more superior technology than 2G, and at that point in time, the allocation was made in the 800 and 900 megahertz bands, if I remember correctly through the top of my head. And now when the 5G auction has taken place across a panoply of bands, it has only yielded 1,50,000 crores. So it is very evident that the then CAG, Mr. Vinod Rai, was unfortunately fronting for certain interests which wanted to subvert and topple the then UPA government.
Mr. Tewari, are you then saying or suggesting that we fetch less price or lesser price in the 5G auction? Or did we overestimate the loss figure for 2G? Just trying to understand what exactly you want to say. And also the point that is being made now, the thing with technology is that prices come down as technology evolves. This is also one of the arguments being given. I want to understand your view.
You see, ultimately, it's an auction. So in an auction, the price discovery takes place through the bidding route. And obviously, if I understand correctly, most of the spectrum has really gone at a reserve price. But the short point that I'm trying to make is, if the benchmark for 5G, which was discovered through an auction process, was 1,50,000 crores, then that figure of 1,76,000 crores as presumptive loss was completely a bogus figure, and it was orchestrated with a deliberate and mala fide intention of completely and absolutely subverting and toppling the then UPA government.
Okay, Mr. Tewari, my final question, beyond this comparison between 2G and 5G auctions, what do you plan to do about it from here on?
No, I am not saying that the government sold 5G for less. That is absolutely an erroneous read of the situation, because the price discovery took place through an auction process. So whatever the auction price is, that is the benchmark. But all I'm trying to say is that all those people, including the ones who are currently in government, who made a virtue out of that 1,76,000 crore rupee report, should really apologize to the nation, because they really became the front organizations of the CAG in perpetuating this falsehood and this myth that the then UPA government had caused a humongous loss to the exchequer and was therefore was corrupt and deserved to be booted out. And may I also add that when that particular matter went for trial, the court exonerated each and every one of the accused. Not a single person was convicted of this alleged fraud of 1,76,000 crores. And that, is a very eloquent testimony to the kind of chicanery which the then CAG and his colleagues had done. I do not know for what ulterior motive, but one thing is definitely clear, that if 12 years later, a 5G auction across bands from 700 megahertz on to 2300 megahertz only fetches 1,50,000 crores, then that figure, which was deliberately thrown into the public space and was so sensational with so many zeros attached to it, definitely had a mala fide motive. And to your question, how do we intend to take it forward? Well, I think that's something which we seriously must think about.
All right. Mr. Tewari, many thanks for joining us.